stay up, because if he is, I'll keep it open for a little bit. But if he's not, then I'm
Yeah.
out with you.
Well, I sent Ray an invite as well. Um, if you want to send one to Mike, you're welcome to. Uh, but
Okay.
tell everybody here same thing I told Brandon and Loyalist that I got a lot of running to do at 9:30 today, so I will be out. If this place is not jumping, so to speak, as Loyalist is saying, he might just jump out as well. We'll probably end up killing it after an hour and a half, right? So there's a good possibility. It's still an hour and a half, though, guys. So I just know
Yeah.
most likely there's not going to be a 4 hour sit down chat. I got a lot of stuff to do, and then of course Chuck here's not been feeling well, so.
I will say, Toxic Tommy, I'm on alert, my guy. I'm watching for any messages.
Right, right. Amen to that. Just keep an eye on the comments. That's all we got to do. So
I still, yeah, I felt so bad about that.
it only happened once. It happens, but I mean, it's happened with me before
Yeah.
because I didn't understand the system, though. That's why.
So, yeah. Are you on your tail end of your spring break, or do you get another break there, Brandon?
I get 1 week.
Okay.
And then his summer vacation kicks in.
No. I got about 2.5 months before then.
Well, see, I don't know about your guys' areas, but my local school system a couple years ago tried to change everything to where it was no longer a week off for spring vacation, winter vacation, and fall, and then like 2 or 3 months off for summer. They were going to change it to you got 2 weeks off for all four, and that's it. That you went to school all year round.
Yep.
And boy, did that get downvoted.
I think that's because I told you my son goes to one school, my daughter goes to another. Well, where my son goes to school, they're transitioning to that. You know what I mean? So now it's like now they get 2 weeks for spring break, but then they get 2 weeks for spring break, but then they still get just shorter throughout the year, and they're sort of spreading it out and basically, like I said, programming them, getting them used to it and stuff. I imagine in 10 years or so that it'll be that way year round.
Okay.
How you doing, Jack?
There he is.
What's happening, guys? Hey, Brandon.
Living the dream.
Living the dream.
Living the dream.
I'm living the scream around here.
How you feeling today, brother?
Good.
Are you going to end up finishing your rocket, man?
Oh, yeah, I'll finish it. I just won't be able to finish it for the show that I wanted to finish it for.
Yeah.
Which was our show we have here, which was last week. Last week? Yeah, last week. But that's okay. I didn't feel up to going anyway, so I didn't even go. But yeah, I'll have it done. Hopefully, there's a couple shows that are. There's one in Dallas and there's one in Houston, but Houston it's too much to go down there and go to the show and then come back all on the same day. It's just kind of a pain in the butt because it's a 5.5 hour drive depending upon the traffic. And then you got the show, which is from 9 o'clock until 5 o'clock. Then you got to drive home. No.
And then you got with any traffic getting out.
Well, where the show is located, it's on the southwest side of Houston from where I'm at. It's on the southwest side of Houston, period. But I mean, and it's pretty much of a straight shot through town. So it's really not bad traffic wise.
Okay.
And it's on a Saturday, so you just
See,
so that's a good part. But that's still you're looking at a 11-hour drive, and then you've got an 8-hour show, and I can't afford to stay overnight.
I
Just
know.
I can't.
I know.
My brother used to live down that dirt. Matter of fact, he lived off of the very same exit that the show is on, just further down the road. If he still lived there, then I could stay at his house. But now the bum moved. So
Wow. So every once in a while, maybe about every 5 years or so, I'll go to Indianapolis and go to Gen Con, which is a tabletop gaming convention, right?
yeah,
Pretty big. And it's a 3-day event. It lasts on Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
right.
And like a lot of people, they, especially when they're younger, they'll go in the people that dress up and stuff like that.
Yeah,
They'll go in and have a 3-day pass, and they freaking sleep inside the convention center. Like, are you kidding me?
really.
Like, yeah, they don't even get hotel rooms. They just right there. You'll see them passed out off in the corner, and it's been at Lucas for a while now, over in Lucas Oil Stadium, before it was at the RCA Dome Convention Center.
Wow.
But I've been tempted to go this year. I wanted to go last, but it's in July, and that's rough when you cover the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah.
Oh, so, and I generally don't do a 3-day thing. I'll go in one day, meet some people, meet some authors or something like that, and get some signings and maybe buy a couple things. But I'm not one of those people that would spend a whole freaking weekend doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unbelievable. But
Well, we have one here now. I think this will be its 5th year. It would have been 6 without the COVID, but this will be its 5th year. And they start on Friday evening and go through Sunday afternoon.
yeah,
But if you don't get a hotel room, you're gonna be out there with the homeless folk in downtown Shreveport because you ain't sleeping in the convention center. They're gonna lock your butt out.
say that when it's going on,
Yeah.
it's open 24.
Oh yeah, this isn't open 24.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you better have hotel or reservations or know somebody in the area, or like I said, go meet the homeless guy on the corner to find out the best spot to lay down, because you ain't staying in the convention center. If the convention center had their way, they would just take the money for you to enter and then kick your butt right back out if they could get away with it.
Well, right. Yeah.
They'd really just rather you not be here and just give us the money and then leave, but somehow it doesn't work that way. But
No, for some reason you actually have to give them something in exchange for currency.
Right. Exactly.
Hey, Brandon, have you had a chance to dive into Wagner's contract yet? I know Lawrence was busy and I was.
Whose contract?
Wagner with the Rams. Have you been able to pick apart his contract yet?
No.
Oh, that just sounds massive. 5 years, up to $65 million for. Isn't he like 31 or 32 years old?
Hold on. It says it's 50 million, but
No, but it goes up to 65. That's
okay.
right.
Yeah. I'm looking to see if it's up yet. There's no Jesus. He's 32.
Yeah.
There is probably a lot, of like dead years in there.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, it's just. I think he's going to ball out there. I think that until he starts tapering off, which he's sort of that guy that you never know if he will. He's sort of like Tom Brady.
Right.
What
Right.
is that?
Sounds like a vacuum.
Oh my God! Hey, I'm sorry. I will mute my mic.
Oh, it's not terrible.
No,
It sounded like a warning, like a hurricane warning or something. I was like, what is that?
We had another earthquake last night, so
That's why I asked.
Is that what
I was
that
like,
is?
but no, I'll mute my mic, and but I can hear everything. And
No,
just
you're fine.
apologies.
Is that what
Sounds
the
like
sound
Suzanne.
is? The sound a vacuum or is it an alarm?
No, my mother-in-law's vacuuming downstairs.
Okay, okay.
So
Say it's not bad.
No.
Barely-
It was just one of those. What in the world? Is
yeah,
that?
it just kind of came up all of a sudden.
Yeah.
No,
Like,
you're
I
good.
think it's a vacuum. I've heard that I've heard that sound once or twice in my life.
We don't use those around here, man. I've got kids who are like, nah, I don't have to do that.
Oh wow! But so do
everything
you,
all right?
Doc? Do you ever like go to any kind of conventions or anything like that over there in Tokyo?
as far as football,
No, just in general, whatever. Like I occasionally go to a tabletop gaming convention. Jack, goes to model stuff
Yeah,
and
model shows.
yeah. If
Mm.
there's anything that you like that, pastime stuff that's not necessarily football related that you like to do.
well, like you, I'm a D&D nerd, and
Yeah.
so especially when I was a teenager, I was heavy into that. And so whenever there was a comic book convention or a D&D convention, something on base, I went to, and if the older wrestlers that I follow, the same guys that Jack knew, Bill Watts guys, if they come through and they do a meet and greet or anything, I show up. But the cosplay conventions are really good here. I don't dress up or anything, but being a comic book guy, I love that. It's just bringing a comic book character to life. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm a big nerdy guy. I was probably the biggest nerd in the Marines. So
My son, he's gotten into this community thing, and they have these meetings at the public library and stuff. And then today, the guy that basically runs this whole program and stuff, he was sitting there, and they had a pizza party and an introduction to the new guy because the lady that was running it left, and he came in and stuff, and he was talking about Dungeons and Dragons, and so now my son signed up for D&D, intro to D&D, and get a concept of it and stuff. And then after that, they all started doing coding. So it's like, oh, okay. So I like it. We got a little variety here, because my son's really into the anime, and stuff. And so now, way Ace told me, he's like, it's just the natural progression, Dad. And I looked at him like, you're 12. I don't need to hear about natural progression.
As long as it's anime and it hasn't progressed to hentai.
Yeah, we have a standing joke now when he's on the laptop. Every time if he's on it too long, I'll be like, "Get off the porn!"
Right.
How you doing, Nikoski?
Not bad, not bad. How are you, gents?
Fair to middling.
Nice.
Good.
Doing well.
Glad to hear. Glad to hear.
Yeah,
There is some.
we have one guy in our club that just finished his Boba Fett outfit.
Oh wow.
Yeah. He wore it to our show. He was
Is
the
there,
doorman.
is there something wrong on my end again, Lawrence?
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay, brother.
And he was talking about he
You're
might have to lose a
loud.
little bit of weight
Okay.
so he could wear it more comfortably
Oh,
during the Comic-Con this year. Because apparently he gained a few pounds because he got it and painted it and all that himself, so he's had it for almost a year, putting it all together and getting it ready. And now he's I told him you ain't gonna have to diet your way out of it, or diet your way back into it now. And the problem is, the kid is about this big to start with.
Yeah.
But since I got a little older, he said I started to get this little pooch in the front. I said, yeah, that happens as you get a little older.
Yep. When your metabolism slows down, that happened to me. Started hitting me about 30, somewhere between 30 and 35.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
mine hit me at 1.
That's a good one, bro.
I worked in warehouses for a long time, so I kind of kept that off. But later in my life, it was funny. I went over to my dad's house one day, and Dad said, "You see this?" Or no, he said, "You see this?" He was patting his belly. He said, "It used to be up here."
Right.
Guess
I tell
what?
my wife all the time that I
He
got
was right.
Dunlap disease.
Mhm. My belt Dunlap, or my belly's
belly
Dunlap
been
the
lapped
vet.
over my
Oh,
belt.
yeah.
Yep.
I have to get a triple extra large T-shirt and get it over my belly.
Yeah.
Used to be I had to get it to get over my shoulders and my chest. Not anymore. Now I need it for down here. Of course, I did lose a little bit of that when I was sick, but I've gained 16 pounds back, so which was I think part of the reason why I felt so lousy. Anyway, I gained a little bit of weight back, and I've been feeling a lot better as this last 3 weeks have gone on. So
It's better to be feeling healthier than be skinny, brother. Trust me.
I agree.
I'm doing 100%, 180. I lost over 9.5 pounds in the last few days, and I feel better.
Well,
I mean, you need to start feeling better anyhow because
I know.
sick. So
yeah, but how long did it take you to lose 9.5 pounds?
About 3 days.
Yeah,
Like I was real sick.
that's
I was
unhealthy as
nauseous, I was nauseous, and I just couldn't hold anything down. So it's like
it took them 5 days to take almost 30 pounds off of me in the hospital.
Yeah.
So I came out of there almost 30 pounds lighter than when I went in.
Wow.
Yeah. What
I lost 35 pounds when I got a divorce inside a month. In a month, when I left my wife, from the day I left my ex-wife to the point where I met my current one, which was a month after I left, I just met her,
Yeah.
and we wasn't actually seeing each other yet, but I met her. I had lost 35 pounds. I mean, stress does that shit.
When you said that I lost 35 pounds when I left my wife, I almost said, "Wow, she was small."
That's a pretty good one right there.
There you go.
Had that been the case, I would have lost a little more than 35 pounds. All right.
I gained 40 when I came back from Afghanistan, and so
Yeah.
Well,
they said it's good there.
probably ate something more than MREs.
Well, no, actually, the food was really, really good there. I mean, they had KVR, and they were running all the chow halls, even downrange. And so I couldn't believe it when I saw civilian cooks downrange. So,
Wow.
But they were getting paid, and they were getting paid good.
So you were talking about the cartoons, Doc, and I still call them they're still cartoons. They're cartoons. All right. It just depends upon where they come from.
Wait a minute. My son got all up in my shit about that tonight.
Yeah.
I
They're
called
still
it a cartoon. I know. I called it a cartoon, and I'm pretty sure I offended his religion or something. He got like corrected me.
I've had this argument with my son. I was like, no, they're cartoons. They're just from a different country. That's all it is, But there's a style that I really get into. I don't watch it as much as my son or my wife. My son got my wife into watching that stuff hardcore. But there's a style that I like a lot that I've gotten into quite a bit called isekai, where it's kind of like you take a regular everyday person and drop them into like a gaming world or something. That style. You know which one I'm talking about, right? Like,
No, I'm not into it.
You're not into it. Okay,
Not at all.
So
He's here for
because
Colts,
I played D&D.
he's here for Colts football.
No, he's into other stuff too.
I'm just
like all of us.
I'm playing, brother.
But because I was into tabletop gaming, D&D, such and such, you know, the idea of that, of dropping a person from the real world into that type of setting, you know, got me into watching those, because that's a pretty big era of that style of show, and I found quite a few of them that I enjoy watching. You know,
Actually, I know what you're talking about. My wife is a fan of an animated series that does that. That took regular people and dropped them into, and it turned. Yeah, yeah, I know. I know what you're talking about.
there's a couple shows out there that I actually really liked. One, I'm waiting on the second season. It's called Shield Hero or something like that. But anyhow, there's a bunch that I really enjoyed, but it's based off the fact that I did a lot of tabletop gaming when I was younger, and still do occasionally, just not as often as I used to. You know, because you grow up
Same.
and friends move away. You know.
Yeah, who am I going to play D&D with here? You know,
I could imagine there's still probably quite a few people over there that do that.
on base, but I live like 2 hours away from the closest base, and so I had to take a train back and forth. So
Okay.
I go once a month to pick up medications and stuff.
Oh.
So.
We have in the modeling world that I'm in, they have Gundams.
Gundam. Yeah, I know Gundam.
And of course, it was the Gundam. We had a club here that was Gundam, but they were separate from us, and they didn't participate in our modeling show until about 5 years ago, when we actually sat down with them and said, they're plastic models. Bring your stuff into our show. So we brought them on. We started bringing them into our show about 5 years ago. Well, now all the other clubs in our region, is Texas and Louisiana and Mississippi and Arkansas and Oklahoma. Well, a bunch of the other clubs now have started to incorporate the Gundam guys into the plastic model shows. And it's kind of bled both ways. We've got some of their guys are now, building cars or airplanes or whatever. And a lot of us have looked into or have started building Gundams ourselves. The problem with me, I see the Gundam, I don't know the story they have, that goes with it. These things are 60 feet tall and all, and they're always, they're like white and different colors coming off of them. No, baby, I paint them up, put them in camouflage and make snipers out of them, and that's what I do with them. And I get a big frown out of them. And I said, look, if you build a model airplane and paint it purple with pink polka dots, I don't care. Okay? So if I take your Gundam and I, make a futuristic, marine sniper out of them, make a ghillie suit and all that, then don't turn your nose up at me.
Right.
They still don't like it.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, in role playing, there's a thing called Warhammer.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's pretty big, and they do a lot of miniatures and stuff like that they make, and it's very open, because it's, from what I've watched around here, it's so broad in the aspect of, you can go from like old fantasy stuff to futuristic shit, so it's a little more open-minded when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah, we have Warhammer at our show too.
Yeah,
but we've had them longer. We've had the Warhammer guys. A lot of the model guys, the younger guys, have done Warhammer for a while too. So so we've had Warhammer, but like I say, we recently got the Gundam guys in it too.
Yeah.
So. And like I said, it's opened up a whole, because it's plastic modeling, for Christ's sake. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
They weren't. It was like an us versus them kind of thing, at first, because the Gundam guys, most of the guys, they're 35 and younger, and most of the modelers that come to shows, most of the modelers are probably in their 40s and up.
Uh-huh.
So it introduced something to both sets, and that's what we were trying to do. We're trying to expand plastic modeling. So hey, if you build Gundams, man, we want to, so
Okay.
it's kind of opened. It opened, like say, some doors for both sides, and I think it was really good because some of their stuff's really cool. It looks great. I
We're
just
seeing
don't
you
like
in
the
the
way-
chat, Tommy.
I don't like the way they're painted.
Want to let them know we see you in the chat, but we're not seeing you if you're trying to join.
Yeah. I see you in the chat, my guy. I just don't see you in. If you're trying to join, you're not in the thing.
Try the other link.
The other link.
Yeah, because one has join,
yeah.
one has view.
Yeah.
He has to go to the StreamYard link if he's looking to join.
Mhm.
Yeah. I send two links. One to watch on YouTube, and then the other one is to join like us via
The,
StreamYard.
the StreamYard one is the second one usually, I think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I always put the StreamYard second, and I put a space in there too,
Yeah.
so that at least you got this far. It's all good, man.
Well, we're glad to have you, brother.
Yep. So, Ninkowski, do you have besides football and cigars, or sports and cigars? Is there any kind of
In betting.
thing
Yeah.
that you like so much?
For me,
Bird?
man, that's about it. I
Ah.
also like to collect hats, but unfortunately, because of my folliculitis, I haven't been able to wear any of them for the last 3 years. You can see them kind of all sitting behind me,
Yeah.
and it kind of sucks, but it is what it is.
Wow.
Hey,
Could be
we
a
all
lot
we all
worse.
have that.
It could be a lot
situation.
worse, bruh.
Yeah, one way or another. But hey, collecting hats, that's cool. That's cool. I know.
But, hey,
was
My
gonna say-
grandfather used to collect hats.
He's lucky. My wife, if I haven't wore a hat within a month or two, she's
bet-
putting it in a box to get it out of here because I got so many hats. She's like,
Oh,
you got to wear them at least once a month.
My parents think I'm absolutely nuts because, like you're saying, Lawrence, your grandpa collected hats. Yeah, I bet, but he probably didn't pay 40 to $45 each for a hat. So
Well, depending on what kind of hat we're talking
What it
about
was.
here, because he was a Marine too, and he would
Yeah.
collect, military stuff.
oh,
as well.
okay.
And that shit wasn't cheap.
No, but I'm saying hats, like Loyalist hat.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
hats that you wear on a
As a matter
regular
of fact,
basis.
I gave my uncle $150 for a pair of Jungle Boots, and those were the best damn boots I had ever freaking owned in my life.
Nice. bro.
150. Okay, I think you overpaid a little
I was gonna
bit.
say your
What
uncle
was it?
bought
When
your
was
uncle
it?
bought two pair, one for him, one for you.
Yeah, that's what it
I
sounds like.
gave him that because I wanted it. It was
Okay.
like
Auction
here,
type
thank
deal?
you. He also had to ship it to me, because he was in Mount Home in Colorado, and I'm in Indiana, so he had to ship it. But I sent him $150, and I said, "Hey, I seen some boots. Is this enough to cover it?" He says, "Yeah," and I was like, "Cool,"
Keep the change, huh?
Doc and I are from the dark side. We were just expecting worse.
Keep the change.
Yeah, that's what I did, was keep the change. But-
I collected hats. I should say caps, not hats. Caps,
Mhm.
baseball cap, ball caps, whatever we.
Yeah.
I used to have I've got 4 or 5 trash bags just full of them out in the storage room now.
See, that would be me.
I started
Yeah.
because from back when I was working in different warehouses or at some of the electric companies I worked at. I'd get hats from all of my customers that got hats. I'd get hats from them, and of course our company always had a new hat about every year. We'd come out with a new hat, so collected my own hat, and then of course always had Colt hats and Texas A&M hats. I always collected those. Had a few Orioles hats. That was the last Orioles hat I bought. A friend of mine went to Baltimore a few years ago and came back with a hat until he paid $35 for it. And I thought, oh my God, take it back, shit. Crap.
I'm sorry, Toxic. I'm not old enough to own a Hardy hat. That was a long time ago. They don't make those anymore, do they?
The restaurant Hardee's?
No, not Hardee's. The old if I remember right, they were
okay.
what
Nancy Drew and
the like cavalry guys. You know what I'm talking about? That like the hats from back in those days. That
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like back in like the 1800s, the cavalry.
oh, okay.
They had those certain hats with the fold up on the top, and you know what I mean. I've never had one of those. I've never had a Stetson. I wouldn't mind owning a Stetson.
So say I can't afford a Stetson.
I'd love to have a Stetson. I've just never owned one.
Yeah, those are expensive as shit.
My dad bought me one. So it's my only hat like that I have. Most of mine are, I've got like that one that I always sit there, during the summer, try to build, to block the sun out. But yeah, the only hat that I have, as far as if I was to wear it, it would have to be a special occasion, is my Stetson, because it's like you said, these things are ridiculously expensive. I sweat like a banshee, and I'm terrible on hats. Just terrible.
Jack, do you have any wrestling memorabilia from the 70s, 80s?
No, the closest I have to that would be some of my wife's pictures that she has back when she was working at the Best Western, where the guys stayed. She's got quite a few photographs. Dusty Rhodes was another name that I forgot about till she mentioned it the other night when I was telling her about you asking me that question.
Curly blonde locks.
Oh yeah, old Dusty.
Yeah. Let me tell you something about the Dusty Rhodes.
That was very good. That was good.
I thought it was terrible.
WrestleMania this weekend.
Really?
Yeah, with Pat McAfee.
I guess so. I don't watch it myself, but I know that it's on because of him.
Yeah, I haven't watched wrestling.
I saw him this morning on Get Up. McAfee, and they had him on for that. They were talking about
Greeny always has him on.
Got his match, all that kind of stuff. I have no idea the guy that he's wrestling. Like, oh my God, McAfee's going to wrestle. Oh crap, this will be interesting. That'd be interesting.
Yeah,
I'm not paying pay-per-view to find it either. Watch it either.
He's done it a couple of times before though. So
yeah.
He did that flip off the turnbuckle once.
Yeah, took out like 5 guys and just spread out.
Yeah.
And it looked like it was me flying through the air because that little dude is like, I know McAfee's a decent sized guy, but compared to some of them guys,
yeah. When you said you were from Shreveport, last time my ears perked up, and there was a lot I wanted to ask you, because you said you went to the television tapings, and that was Channel 3 WTBS, and I think they taped on Wednesdays. I'm not sure when they aired.
KTBS. Yeah, we're on that side of the Mississippi River, so we're K's. They taped on Saturday and usually showed them on sometime like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah. I remember it was in the middle of the week. See, when I was a kid, we did tape trading before cable, and on the VCRs.
Yeah,
I might be speaking. All you guys know what VCRs are, so what we would do is that we would tape our local shows, and for me it was the Bruiser. For you guys too, and so it was Dick the Bruiser and some of AWA wrestling, and I would send it to guys down south. In Shreveport, Louisiana, I would get Bill Watts' stuff. And Bill Watts, he was blowing everything out of the water until he lost the dog, until he lost JYD. His stuff was just amazing. It was 10 times better than anything out today. And so that's why I know a lot about the Cowboy, Cowboy Bill Watts.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
All right, I don't know what this means, but Tommy says
Haystack.
racing ain't been the same since Haystack Calhoun hung him up.
Oh God,
He went
haystacks! I
old
hate
time, didn't
haystacks.
he? Holy crap!
Haystacks.
I don't know who that one is.
He was just a big fat dude that never learned to wrestle, never tried. That's it. He was about 600 pounds.
Yeah.
So
Oh wow.
But
Yeah,
he was big, like
he was
not
big
just
guy.
wide, he was tall too.
Yeah.
He's just a massive dude. Yeah.
What was that one dude? Bundy, one of the Bundy. I know everyone.
Yeah.
But look, just went look, bald headed and just King. Was that? No, that wasn't
King
King
Kong.
Kong.
Yeah.
No, King
Yeah,
Kong
he's
had
King
all the
Kong.
hair. Okay, they all.
He had
The only
hair,
two
then he
Bundys
shaved it.
I know is King Kong Bundy and Ted, and I don't think you're talking
Same.
about Ted.
That would be a problem.
If Ted was a wrestler, then that would explain why a lot of them retired.
Tommy said
Yeah.
Haystack simply just smashed everybody.
Kind of similar to like the Hurricane. Yeah. Who actually was the guy who trained me and a bunch of my friends because he lived not 2 miles from me, he here in town. So he ran a little wrestling organization in this area for about 6 years or so. But yeah.
So you were going to wrestle, or you were just training for something else?
Oh no, I was wrestling for about a year and a half, and then I was like, I ain't doing this no more. Mainly because a friend of mine got razor's edged and landed on the back of his head wrong, and his brain, like, it all swelled up, and they had to ship him to a helicopter hospital and drill 3 holes in the back of his head to release the pressure. He almost died, and I was like, nope, I'm done now, because if you do a lot of those moves wrong, it is really dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, shout out to Flying Brian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played with the Cincinnati Bengals too.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, Brian Pillman.
Yep.
Yeah, when that high flying stuff started to take off in the early 90s, I was completely turned off by wrestling then, and the territories when they all died out, it was just Vince and TBS, and I was like, it's unwatchable.
See, I got into wrestling when Sting first came in. Yeah, he had yellow hair and he was bright colored, and I loved his energy, and I watched him a lot. And then the NWA turned to WCW, and then WCW went under, and then all that. And then when all that happened, I was just like, I'm done, So,
hey, did you want to share with these guys what you shared with me about the film room? That was awesome. I laughed for about 10 minutes after that.
I'm not doing that film room. I was going over Tyrann Matthews' film, and I sat there for like hours and hours and hours just watching this film, and I'm like, I can't do a film room on this because he's all over the damn field. I don't know what the hell this dude is doing. I don't know what the plan is. He's just fucking everywhere. I can't make a film room unless I can legitimately know what the fuck is going on. You know what I mean? And if I can't say, all right, here's the play, this is the scheme, this is his responsibility, this is, whether he did something right or something wrong. It was almost like watching Troy Polamalu, only a little bit different, where you could have a completely different scheme, and this dude's somewhere completely else doing something that I have no idea. I honestly think they gave him, just like the Steelers gave Palomalu, that free reign. You know,
Give
go
him the
do what
rover.
you want to do.
Be the rover and just sort of scan the field. Huh?
Yeah.
But
So
Palomalu was always in the right place at the right time.
well, it's because they gave him free reign to do what he wanted. He was one of those rare defensive
you
players
still
that they
have to
allowed
have-
to do that.
You still have to have the feel to know
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
where to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I asked
But
Lawrence
it
about
just-
that
it
this
just made-
morning.
It made making that so difficult. I was like, I'm giving up. I can't do this one. It's the first time I ever looked at filming and went, I can't do it.
Well, now you know why they called him the honey badger.
Right.
He's everywhere.
So I'm sorry about that, guys.
Everywhere but where you think he should be. You know.
I know. And even then, he'd be in places that, you legitimately think he should be. Like, he'd be sitting at the free safety spot, right? And kind of covering the deep right zone or deep left zone. And he would end up being man on man against the right corner or right wide receiver. And I'd be like, how the hell did you get up there? You know, how did you go from all the way back here in the one opposite corner of the field, and now you're covering the wide receiver on the opposite end of the field? You know, it makes no sense to me. I mean, it worked out, and generally plays don't go his way. Like, like last year, it was really difficult to do a Rocky Sin video because there just wasn't a lot of tape of quarterbacks testing him last year. You know, because he was covering well.
Yeah.
They did the same thing with Tyron. You know, they just didn't, wherever he was at on the field, they really didn't throw it to him very much. That's why I think that there was one thing that I could have put in there. They used him in blitz packages a lot. Tyron ran a lot of, he only landed home once, but they used him a lot. And quarterbacks apparently were paying attention because when he lined up close to the line of scrimmage, you could see the quarterback change the play into a quick dump off pass. So, but
Rock really improved last year, and that's why we were able to trade him for what we were able to get for him. To get it for Yannick Ngakoue, that's a big chip for us, you know.
oh yeah. Especially if we can if we get what we want out of him and he becomes that guy, and then somehow Ballard can extend him, you know, because if he plays well, I'd hate to see him play well, and then all of a sudden the Colts can't afford him, you know.
Man, Ngakoue is that guy, you know. He's not. You don't have to wait and see if he's gonna be. He is.
How long is his contract?
It's just about fitting in.
1 year. 1 year.
Really?
It's like, yep. It's like,
You think he'll get restructured like around week 8 or something like that?
I'm thinking probably by week 8 that there might be an extension if he's playing well. That there might be an extension in hand. They could do it before preseason starts, depending upon how he looks in practice. You know, during training camp. But that would be the smart thing. Lock him up before he becomes big.
Yeah, because then he's gonna want to walk for more money.
Yeah, he leads the NFL in quarterback pressure since he's been in the league.
Yeah.
So I mean,
he's got a good resume. He has that.
And people are like, "But he's been on 4 different teams," and I'm like,
"So what?
Circumstance."
Yeah.
Look at the circumstances.
But he's had at least eight sacks every year.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, I mean the Jags, they did everything they could to keep the kid, and then just you know. And then
he wanted out just like everybody else.
And you look at the teams that he's went or the system that he's been to, you know, he's followed Bradley around. He's like, oh, this is me, and Bradley likes him there. I mean, so now we'll just, and the nice thing is barring Bradley getting a head coaching job, you know, I see this being a good 3 or 4 year, you know, job.
I don't think Bradley will get a head coaching job, at least not next year. I don't care if the Colts become a number 1 defense in the NFL. I think because Eberflus just became a head coach. you know, and then the year before our offensive coordinator became a head. It might start going even if the Colts go undefeated, you know, and which obviously is not going to happen. Not with the teams we have to play this year. But
well, I don't know.
at
Field
some
Yates has
point
us
you
at
have to
19
look at it
wins.
and go, those players are something. Those the players they have, you know, are a big reason as well. You know, not just the coach.
Field Yates says what?
Wasn't that Field Yates that had 9.5 twice, and everybody was laughing, saying, "All right, we got 19 wins this year."
Oh no,
Yeah. I seen that.
it was that tweet that I shared.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had it was supposed to have been Colts and Titans at 9.5 each, and instead they had the Colts listed twice instead of the Titans being there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, well, the Titans just retired because the Colts got Matt Ryan and Yannick.
Taking a year off.
Right.
They moved out of the South.
We could go undefeated if we played just NFC teams.
Rams are getting pretty beastly though. As long as we avoid
Yeah, I'm trying to think which division.
How do you go from Vaughn? Okay, so this is literally they went from Robert Woods to Allen Robinson.
Yeah.
And then from Von Miller to Bobby Wagner. What? You know? Come on now. That shit don't seem fair.
I was gonna ask you guys, how did Bobby Wagner manage to get a 5-year?
Because they gave him a 5-year contract, and I think there's a shit ton of void years at the end of it, like at least 2. I really do believe there's two void years at the end of that contract.
Yeah,
it's not up yet, but I'm almost positive.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like with Von Miller. They gave him a 6-year contract. I figure if he plays 3, maybe 4, he'll be doing good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think probably the same thing with Wagner.
But
it is crazy though, seeing that now these guys are breaking 31, 32 years old and still finding these one last contract. I remember, at 28, it's like, oh, this guy's got to hurry up and get this. Maybe his last big contract. Now it's becoming more of a, no, that's the next to last contract.
Oh, we lost him.
Yeah. Where'd he go? Where'd you go?
I don't know.
It's the difference. Sorry.
Oh, say top. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's the difference over the last 20 years of nutritions and their workouts and all that kind of stuff that these guys are able to be more effective longer.
Yeah, I agree with that, but it's also now the defense is only allowed to just go just a step up or half a step above two-hand touch. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and of course the practice rules and all that stuff they have, they used to. Look, I remember watching interviews with a guy named Artie Donovan, and he said their off-season workout was hot dogs and 16-ounce curls, or 12-ounce curls. Was a case of hot dogs and a couple of cases of beer. That was sitting under the tree. That was their off-season workout.
That's just like Joe Mama there in Discord. He's got his picture that he has for his avatar is a guy sitting there smoking a cigarette in the locker room during halftime. And I think it was a championship game or something. He said, just sitting there, just smoking a.
Yeah.
Look, if you ever want to hear hilarious stuff like that, ever find stories about Bobby Lane. Okay, from Detroit, back in Detroit when he played with Detroit. Artie, if you ever get a chance to find anything about with Artie Donovan. Because the guy's he's a natural clown. But he was a clown his whole life. That's he's got his book that he wrote called Fatso. And, he's something else. But he talked about, he'd go out and tackle Bobby Lane. And he said, man, we'd get up and, we'd have a hangover. Or we'd be drunk,
Mm-hmm.
And he'd go in at halftime, and have a couple of drinks, and smoke a few cigarettes and all. Yeah. It was, It was a lot different back in the, back then too.
Oh, a lot. It became more of a business because the money that's being thrown around now. I mean, it wasn't as big of. I mean, what was it? Freaking Johnny U played for like what, $6? I mean, that's
Yeah,
His
I would
first-
argue. I would argue that one quarterback probably could have.
his
The
first-
salary for one quarterback could have paid for the entire league back then.
Johnny U's rookie contract was $7,000 a year, which is why all the guys worked. They had regular jobs during the off season.
yeah.
Like listening to Gino Marchetti talking about, well, he worked 1 year as a pin setter. He worked another year, working at the steel mill at Sparrows Point. Then he got a job with his brother-in-law or something, selling liquor. I mean, that's what they did during the off season, except for the guys that actually, had restaurants. Johnny Unitas had the Golden Arm restaurant. Alan Amici used to have a whole chain of drive-in restaurants up in the Baltimore area.
Yeah. Talks to Tommy's in here. He says Bart Starr even had to sell cars during the off season.
Yeah,
And so, these guys had. Real quick though, have you guys heard about the rumors about Baker Mayfield and how the interest in him started picking up and stuff? Toxic Tommy had asked. Speaking of the Titans, he says, "Do you guys think that the Titans will be sticking with Tannehill?"
Yeah,
I do
I
too.
really do.
I no reason not to.
I think Tannehill is a good quarterback. I really do. I don't have a problem with Tannehill. I think he's a decent quarterback. It's just
he didn't have a good game.
no, and I mean, for goodness sakes, a lot of quarterbacks don't have good games once in a while.
Yeah.
It's not like you walk in. I mean, for every bad game Tannehill has, you could go look at 5 or 6 that you're like, how the hell did he make that play?
Yeah.
So I feel like they'll stick with him.
I do too, because I mean, honestly, they were talking about Baker Mayfield possibly coming to the Titans. I mean, and first off, if Tannehill gets hurt, you've got a very good lot of experience. Young, fairly inexpensive quarterback. But the thing is, I don't think that Mayfield, for the Colts, they went from Carson Wentz, and the Colts felt like this was their ceiling with Carson, and they felt like Matt Ryan increased that. I would argue that I don't think that anybody would look at Baker Mayfield and say that he really increases that ceiling over Tannehill that much. Do you guys?
No.
You mean over Wentz?
I think
over Tannehill. Baker Mayfield over Tannehill as far as the upside, outside of age.
Oh no.
I think 2 weeks of training camp and Baker Mayfield would be shorter because Mike Vrabel would just be pounding on top of his head. That's two people I see. I don't see them getting along at all. With not if Baker has any kind of his attitude that he has right now. He better figure out a way to change his attitude, or he may not.
Honestly,
he may not start.
This is my honest opinion. I think the team that would benefit the most from Baker right now is probably the Dolphins.
What about Seattle?
Seattle is, I don't care what they say, they're in rebuild mode.
Oh yeah.
They're in complete rebuild mode.
Yeah.
Whereas the Dolphins have got a legit offense, like 15 offensive good players. They need a better quarterback. They need someone that can take advantage of the weapons that they have at wide receiver. And
but who's the backup at Miami?
They just got somebody.
2 years. Yeah,
Yeah,
they just
I
got
know.
him for 2 years.
I can't think of his name.
Hang on, let me check the Discord.
I can't believe
I'm surprised Brandon doesn't know.
I've been off of Twitter over my break.
Teddy.
I've been trying to get away from everything.
Teddy.
Bridgewater, that's
Teddy
right.
Bridgewater? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, that's right. God dang, how did I forget that?
I forgot about him too.
Oh,
He's easy to forget.
Teddy Two Gloves.
Hey, I still say that team is more built for him than it is Tua.
It's like
it might be.
the Browns, or not Browns. Wait, yeah, it was it the Browns?
Yeah,
Or was it the Steelers that got Brissett?
Browns.
Was it the Browns?
Yeah.
Yes, because the Browns traded Keenum and picked up Brissett.
Right.
Yeah. Brissett's a good backup.
Did you guys see who signed there at the Vikings at cornerback? I was surprised. I was really surprised to see Peterson went back to the Vikings for another short-term contract.
Adrian Peterson did.
No, cornerback, not running back.
Oh,
cornerback.
okay, Patrick Peterson.
I was like, oh boy, that'd be
It wouldn't
awkward.
surprise me though if Adrian Peterson re-signed with the Vikings. Though I'm just saying.
Hey man, you know, everything has its own way, and he was real good for them. Like he is what he is now. He did make a mistake, but hell, he's still in the league, so why not? Like,
Yeah, I thought he'd try to go and take a cheaper. Well, it wasn't even that big of a contract, but I just thought he'd be ring chasing a little bit more, honestly. You know what I mean? And well, I guess he's in the NFC, so that leaves it a lot more wide open than trying to come into the AFC and have to defend against all those receivers and stuff.
Yeah, I was watching that, and there's legitimately, and I'll have to agree with him because Max Kellerman, and he was talking about how there's legitimately 12 playoff teams in the AFC right now.
there's somebody that's gonna be heartbroken, bro. But I hope to
There's
God.
going to be a few, I think, are going to be heartbroken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a feeling Miami's going to be going, what more do we have to do? You know what I mean? But I'm just not sold that Tua is the guy that I don't care how much talent you give him. I just
agree.
don't know that he's that guy.
Not with the rest of the quarterback and stuff in the AFC, especially this year. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, there's like a few teams, very few teams that are not playoff. Now, like, obviously, I'm going to say the Jaguars, the Texans,
2,
the Jets.
3.
That's not a jump ball, but anyway.
Patriots,
The rest of them
maybe.
legitimately, I think, could make the playoffs.
Ravens. I don't see them as a playoff team at all right now.
But they could.
Yeah.
Right.
A
Because
healthy Ravens team could.
Yeah.
I'm just
Because
saying,
you don't know how Mitchell Trubisky is going to fit in there with the Steelers. You know what I mean? And
yeah, but
and
they made the playoffs the last couple of years with shit at quarterback.
You're right. You're
and then
right.
And they
we're
kept
talking
everyone
about
got better.
And they
and
should.
we're talking about all these pieces with Cleveland. You're just not sure how any of that's going to match. I mean, you don't know who their quarterback's going to be. You don't know for how long. I mean, there's just so many question marks. Yeah, there's a good possibility. I can see the Ravens.
Pittsburgh should have sent us their number 7 draft pick this year just for allowing them to get into the damn playoffs last year.
Yeah, bastards.
Jeez.
Don't tell Thornburg that.
No, because I sat there watched that series of games, and Brandon and I did, and the whole way he's like, "They're gonna fuck us. They're gonna fuck us. They're gonna tie." And all he had this whole thing worked out.
We all lived through that with him, remember?
That sounds like him. That sounds like him.
I was about to dial 911. I just didn't know his damn address because he was having a stroke. Missed you, Joe.
Yeah, I miss Joe too.
Toxic Tommy agrees with us. He says Tua is highly overrated.
Yeah. So I had a follow today that was kind of nice. One of those rare situations where on Twitter and you get a follower, and I'm like, well, that brightened my day up big time. Right after Loyalist and I had a disappointing turnout on our live stream. You guys that did show up, awesome. Thank you. It's just, the topic wasn't something that was catchy. I understand that. But we got off there and I jumped on Twitter and, Cato June, the new linebackers coach gave me a freaking, he started following me on Twitter and I'm like, that's cool.
That's
That'll
awesome
brighten my
because I
day
know
up a
you've
little.
been
That's real
following him
cool.
the whole time. So
Yeah.
Very cool.
I told you, Lawrence, you're bringing them around to you, man. Come on in, guys.
Yeah, I had to make a little road trip during that live. I got the notification or the email, and I thought, oh, cool, it's going to be live. And I saw when it was going to be, and then next thing I know, you got to do this for me. Okay, so I had to make a little run for my wife.
That's all good.
And I thought, damn.
Yeah.
Well,
I want to get on there. I want to get on your live streams, but it's in the morning. I got so many errands to run. And so maybe when the time changes, for you guys, I can get on it because I follow everything that pretty much all you guys post, so yeah.
Oh,
In fact, I'm 15 minutes through your last video, and I had some questions for you guys, if
shoot it.
you don't mind. Okay, so this is the Rooney
Real
law.
quick. You got to make sure that you go in and still type them in the comment section afterwards.
I can do, but it's the Rooney law that they've amended, right? And so, is it only the interviews that the teams have to interview a
You
minority
have to hire
and a
somebody
female?
on the offensive
They have to
side.
hire. That was the question I had.
They have to have at least one minority or female as an assistant, at least an assistant on the offensive side.
On payroll, basically.
Yeah.
Why?
You don't
Okay.
you don't have to hire a new one every year. You just have to there always has to be one, either minority or female, on the offensive side coaching.
Why specify it to make it be only on one specific side of the ball?
I brought that up too. I have no idea.
That makes no sense.
It doesn't. I agree.
You're forcing you're forcing a certain demographic / minority to be a specialist at that position. Why?
Well, you notice most of your black head coaches have been defensive guy. Tony Dungy was defensive guy. Mike Tomlin was a defensive guy. Todd Bowles is a defensive guy.
I mean, yeah, but
you don't see a lot of
you can't
black coaches on the offensive side of the ball.
Though, in my opinion, you either have it or you don't. You either are or you aren't.
Yeah, but I think the thing is I feel like and Tommy said he's like, I despise woke choices, and that's what a lot of this is. They're trying to address the cultural climate, and the thing is if the NFL starts doing that, that's a race you're never going to win. That damn target keeps moving, and as soon as you give a little bit, they're going to scream for more and more. All I care about, I don't give a crap if they got something between their legs or whatever. All I care about is, can they teach the game? Can they communicate it to the players? Can they make the players better? That is all I give a shit about. And I really hope the league. I understand. I do. I understand you, but you got to understand that for a large portion of the people that watch this sport, and this is an escape. This is where we go to just have that or whatever, and just root for your team and I don't give a shit if they're politically correct. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not wanting them to go out and start burning crosses or wearing hoods or anything, but I'm just saying, you know what? Let's just keep football.
Guys, I'm gonna be
let
back
all that
in
noise.
a second. I gotta go make a head call.
All right, brother.
All right,
I'll be
cool.
back.
All right. Yeah, I don't care if you hire an African gray fucking parrot to be a damn coach if it makes the guys better, Obviously, they need to communicate. So, African Gray's the best talking parrot in the world. So,
yeah,
yeah, it doesn't matter to me.
Just-
You make the team better, then and it's the idea, and I think everyone would agree with this. Forcing the situation, I don't think is good. Teams should just naturally hire the best person for the position. Period. No matter what it is, or who it is. Just hire who you honestly believe will be the best at that position. Period.
Yeah, I mean that's all that I care. I mean, they keep talking protect the shield, protect the shield. Well, this is something that if you're not careful and you start bringing in inferior coaching and you start, creating this, being woke decisions based strictly on outside influences and stuff. I mean, it's like, come on, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid that you're going to get canceled? You're the freaking NFL. You know what I mean? You're not going to get canceled. You know what I mean? Just
Oh my
go
God.
for quality. And like I said, I do firmly believe, I said this in the show and I believe this. I believe that there's a lot of black coaches that could really produce at a high level. I believe there might be a selection of women right now, just because it hasn't been so open of an avenue, such a path that a lot of them could see, that there's going to be less of them, but I can see that becoming more and more. I mean, you've seen my daughter, Lawrence. I mean, shit, she's she's about the size of some of them linemen. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have a problem if she's out there, coaching them up, as long as she's making sure that they're hitting the sleds right, making sure that they're doing their technique right. That's all I give a crap about.
Yeah. I mean, I do get where Jack, was talking about the head coaching side of things. Forcing a minority into an offensive side gives more opportunities for them. I get that. But at the same time, I don't know how many, what's the demographic like where, guys want to get into coaching, I mean, how and this is no disrespect to anybody because I'm a lazy motherfucker, but I couldn't look at a coaching schedule and go, I want a piece of that.
I want to do that.
There's no way in hell.
Right.
You're looking at 14, 16-hour days, 7 days a damn week, 365 days a year. No. Toxic said, assistant long snapper coach.
Yeah. And he says, and this is something that I want to point out, because he says, I haven't watched, he says, this is the reason. Well, I'm assuming he means this is the reason, but he says, I haven't watched the NBA in years.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I don't watch sports. Okay. I mean, well, you know me, I don't watch a lot of news and stuff because I don't need people telling me what to think. Or, if you want to sit there and give me an input or your side of things, I will more than happily take that in and plug it into this old pan of mine and come out with my own thoughts and stuff. But I come to football, I'm not sitting there worrying about, is this person or is this particular group of people being equally represented or something? No, I am over there trying to figure out, are they blitzing this? You know what I mean? Are we going to go for third and long, or we've got 2 downs? I mean, this is the shit I care about when I'm watching football. I don't care about the rest of that stuff. Now, in the outside world, I do. I mean, I've got a daughter, I've got a son. I do realize that these are things that need to be addressed and stuff. To me, and I think a lot of people would agree that this just isn't the place to do it. And it's like you still sit there and listen to Believe In Colts, and Lawrence is interviewing Butler today, and he was talking about, how he wanted to he was kicking around the idea of becoming a coach for the Colts and stuff. And he got into it and everything. And he was just, oh no, that's a hard pass. You know what I mean? But he still wants to be involved in the game and stuff and give this kid an opportunity. I'd love, he sat there and was talking about doing basically a la Robert Matheson, starting his own consulting and getting his hands on the players that way and helping out. And then something else I can't stop thinking about is he was talking about there's not many defensive commentators in the game that can
Yeah.
break the game down for you, like a la Tony Romo on the offensive side or Peyton Manning on the offensive side. And I was just sitting there listening to this, and I was trying to think during that whole time, you know. Matter of fact, I was thinking so much I had to go back and rewatch the video to catch what I missed. But I was just like, he's right. There's always going to be inequities, and I think the league just needs to try to address them quietly. But instead, no, we're going to sit here and make this big statement and make this, you know, I mean, no. I mean, there's organizations like the Colts and like the Niners and stuff. These people are working in their own group of. I mean, we've got women in the organization. You know, we got. I mean, all that stuff they're already doing. Why do we need a rule or a regulation to be put in to make it happen? I hate that.
We have 3 vice chairs that are females. You know, in the Colts organization.
Mhm.
You know, Jim's daughters, and
Yep.
they're right under him. And Charlie, Miss Gordon now, right? It's Gordon. She's right up there with her dad. She's very busy in the organization, and so you know, I think the Colts has been doing it right for a long time. I don't agree with this amendment on the Rooney Rule. If you're going to force minority hires and female hires, then let's open it up to the whole team and special teams and defense.
Do you think this is a reaction to the Flores stuff?
I think it's more to the Deshaun Watson stuff than Flores. So
I think there was a bunch of people that were talking about Todd Bowles getting the head coach instead of Byron Leftwich. You know, as well, that was brought up today. You know, on a couple shows where, you know, why didn't Byron get it rather than honestly, in my opinion, Bowles should have been, because Tom Brady don't need a head coach that's offensive. You know, you need a defensive head coach on that team, because Tom Brady's basically a coordinator on the field. You know, so it's just like, you know, the whole Dungy with Manning situation. You know, you have a defensive minded head coach in that situation when you've got basically an offensive coordinator sitting there on the field at the time. But
see, and that goes to what I was saying earlier. You know, I mean, this is, you know, now it's like, okay, they've complained about it and stuff, and then they do something, you know, but then the thing is now all of a sudden, now it's not the right minority. You know, I mean, it wasn't the left, which it was the Bowles. And it's like, you're
Really?
never going to be happy. You know what I mean? No matter, like, come on, what is it we're looking for here? I don't understand it.
I think, of course, Bowles and Arians were good buds. Have been good buds for years, and
yep.
And he was a head coach before, so.
Well, there was also a lot of, you know, backlash over this past off season after the 2021 season ended. You know, there was a lot of thoughts of Leftwich should have been taken more seriously as a head coach, you know, candidate. And I agree, but I'm curious if Leftwich wanted to just stay there because he had an inside track knowing that Tom Brady was going to stay, you know, because that's a real thing.
Well, the last couple of years, I haven't figured out why Eric Bieniemy hadn't become a head coach somewhere.
Again, you know, when you're sitting there on a team, you know, that has, you know, the situation that he's in, he's probably looking for rings and making his, you know, resume even that much better.
I'll be back shortly.
Yeah.
Plus, he could slip right in.
Yeah, because I mean, you look
at spot too.
That's legit. I mean, how many jobs could Ed Dodds had? You know, the assistant GM for the Colts, that he's been interviewed so many times it's not even funny, but he's turned down a crap ton of them. You know, because he likes being with the Colts. You know, and likes the situation that he's in. So, I mean, there is that, and people automatically go, well, they're not getting the jobs or they're
Yeah.
not getting the opportunities. And I'm like, well, are they or aren't they? I mean,
Right.
there's a difference between getting the opportunity to say no.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, come on. Sorry, guys. Oh,
And I think that's where Enemy comes in too. I think because I know he's interviewed with a couple of teams each year the last couple of years, and I think it, like you're talking about, he might decided he just wanted to stay with Kansas City. It's a right now it's a good place to be, and sooner or later, Andy's going to leave.
Yep.
So
kind of that situation where you thought was going to happen in New England.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
What's a CVN? Navy. Okay, so I just want to go back to the comments that Toxic was talking about. You ought to hear the Navy agonizing over getting a woke aircraft carrier captain, a CVN captain has to be a stat aviator and a nuke. I am lost in that. Oh, nuclear aircraft
I don't even
carrier.
know it.
Okay, I'm assuming nuclear powered aircraft carrier. Okay.
CV is a carrier. CV is what the Navy calls their carriers, and then N is nuclear.
Okay. See, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know the language.
Yeah. CV1 was a Langley. It goes back to it wasn't a Langley. Yeah. It goes back to that's like BB is a battleship. So BB-60 is the USS Alabama. It's the battleship, and it was the 60th battleship.
Okay. The only thing I know about that is the movie Battleship and the game Battleship.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Warthog.
Yeah, well,
which I absolutely loved. All right, both. I loved the movie, and the game itself was fantastic.
I'm a military brat. I'm an Air Force brat, but I appreciate all the services and enjoy taking chances to get to go on the ships and and go to air shows and things like that. Kind of keep up with the military. I've got a brother-in-law that's a former Marine. If you consider any Marine a former, once a Marine,
it's not formal. Yeah, it's never former.
It's yeah.
Joe and I served on the same naval vessel for a little bit. Marines get stationed at naval vessels every once in a while. We call them floats, and it was the Bella Woods. And,
Bella Wood, huh? Wow.
Yeah, we were both on it.
Yeah.
So, you know the Bella Wood?
Yeah. Well, I know Bella Wood from several different ships, but there was a escort carrier, the Bella Wood, during World War II that has pretty good rating. It had some pretty good battle stars and stuff. That's an amphib. Bella Wood you were on.
Okay. It was an amphibious assault ship, and so I guess it's classified as an escort carrier. It's the one that had the Harriers,
right?
And so, I was on that for a couple months and had a good time. The Navy guys they had it pretty good on ship. They ate really good, and the port calls were awesome. God, I love the port calls. And I was the guy that partied. Trust me, I partied, and I had awesome times at all these ports. So.
Did you ever make Subic Bay? Did you make Philippines?
Yeah, I did the Philippines. Yep, I got wild stories about that. So I was there.
Everybody has stories about the Philippines. I've got several friends of mine that I went to high school with that went in the Navy, and a couple of them stayed for careers, and that's one of the places they always talk about.
When you hear stories about the Philippines or Thailand, the more crazy it sounds, and the more unbelievable, like this guy's lying. The truer it is.
Yeah.
Right. If somebody says they went and didn't do nothing, that guy's a liar.
The guy's a liar.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Or he's the chaplain.
What did I miss? I'm over here. Let's see. Tommy's like just spamming the comment. I was like, what's all this?
Tommy started it.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
He took us away from football.
He says,
Because you ain't a sailor unless you have a Subic Bay story. So,
Well, the guys that I know, yeah, they all have one. So they all have stories.
Yeah,
he says
I
a
had two
Navy
or three.
nuke. A Navy
One
nuke is
night.
an intellectual equivalent of a nuclear engineer.
a Navy nuke.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, it's getting close to that time, loyalist, where I'm going to have to end up ducking out.
I'm sorry, Jack, but I'm just hanging on for the last 8 minutes until you said those words.
Yeah. Yeah, I was saying before we got started that I around 9:30 I have to go take a friend of mine to work, and then I got to go pick up my daughter from work, and then I got to run her a couple places. So, and then Loyalist is not feeling very well, so he can't,
Oh, that's cool.
hold the fort down. But
That's
we
cool.
still get like an hour and a half. So,
Yeah.
There
wasn't a lot going on, and unless you wanted to talk about Irsay and his bomb
Calling out
drop,
there.
I guess.
And we could do that for a minute if you guys want. That's a little. I'm gonna. That's one of the few things that Irsay has ever done that really irked me.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I
knew you were a big Irsay guy, and I as well as I. But I tell you what, I just, and then you hear people asking, well, he keeps getting asked, what should you do? The same damn thing they've always done. Carson Wentz is part of another team. I don't comment about players on another team. Let's keep this thing moving. And then everybody, the argument, well, Irsay's always been open. I'm like, you didn't hear one word from Irsay about Carson Wentz through the entire season. Okay, that's why we were all so surprised whenever we find out that all of a sudden Carson Wentz is. I mean, what was it? You heard somebody say that they would cut him if they couldn't trade him, and it's like, wow, how did it get that bad?
Yeah.
Here's my thing.
There you go, toxic. Exactly.
When we moved on, why kick a dead horse? When we moved on from Jacoby Brissett and went and got Phillip Rivers, it was about, oh yay, Phillip Rivers. You didn't hear anyone talk about, well, Brissett, we needed to get better than Brissett. Brissett sucked. We didn't know what, blah, 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 that didn't happen. And that's how it should have went this time, and it didn't. And I think the way the season ended is still boiling in Irsay's veins.
Yeah.
And I think that's more what came out than anything. I think that had a lot to do with it. And he it's no excuse though. He's in my opinion, he still should have been the bigger guy in that in that situation.
Yeah.
I agree, but I will like to point out that Doc, and I don't know if you feel like repeating it, but he said something that's sort of been ringing in my ears over the last 24 hours. You remember what you said, Doc, about Irsay?
About having skin in the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just repeated what you had said. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, but the thing was I was like made a statement how whenever people bet on games, they have more vested interest, more, I mean, and he mentioned, he's like, how much skin does Irsay have in this game? What I mean? And I'm just like, I agree with that. And then I've been tossing this around because Irsay, it's his team. He can say whatever the shit he wants.
Yep.
USA, rah, okay? But in the same token, as a fan of this team that, that I've grown up to love and stuff, I just would have preferred that Irsay would have taken that high road. You know what I mean? And that's all I can say. Now, I'm not saying that Irsay doesn't have the right. I'm not saying Irsay doesn't, whatever. I just personally wish he would have just kept it more like Ballard does. Like, right? I mean, I sat there and I picture these three guys, okay, and to me, Reich is like way over here, super optimistic, loves his guys, wouldn't say shit with a mouthful in it. You know what I mean? And then you got Ballard here in the middle, who's really calm, very patient, studies and dissects, turns over all these stones. You know, he might miss one, but he's really thorough about his work. And then you got Ursay, who's very knowledgeable of the game and stuff. But like you said, he's a fan. He's like he's like the super fan for the Colts and stuff. He just happens to also be the guy who signs the checks. So I was sitting there imagining Ballard, and he's like, when I'm talking to Reich, we're like over here on this spectrum of a conversation, and when I'm talking to Ursay, we're over here on this spectrum. And I'm just sitting there thinking, oh, he don't have to go outside to Twitter or anything else. He's got it all right there on both ears.
Speaking of Ursay, if you get a chance, if you haven't, check out the Jim Ursay collection on YouTube, where he's got his little kind of a traveling museum that he runs around with. One of the guys that plays with him is a Shreveport boy, Kenny Wayne Shepherd.
Kenny Wayne Shepherd
is from Shreveport. I knew his parents before Kenny Wayne was even born. His dad used to be a disc jockey at the first FM rock station here in Shreveport, Shotgun Ken Shepherd, and Kenny Wayne's his little protege basically. And when I heard him talking during an interview talking about that collection, and when he mentioned Kenny Wayne Shepherd, I immediately went to YouTube and started poking around on it. And next thing I know, there's Kenny Wayne standing there. You know, I'm like, I'll be damned.
Yeah, I've been a fan of him for about 20 plus years.
Yeah,
his first concert he ever had here in Indy was in Shriners Hall downtown.
Yeah,
I mean, just a small, but I'll tell you what, it was one of the most. Him and Stevie Ray Vaughan, they get the guitar and they start hitting that guitar, man. And it doesn't just hit my ears; it hits my heart, my soul.
Right.
And,
Blue on Black, Kenny Wayne Shepherd.
Yep.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. Matter of fact, and he's still with that singer too. So the fact that these guys have gone through all of that, you know what I mean, and stuff, it's pretty special. And that Kenny Wayne doesn't sit there and I mean, he's not. You see a lot of these guitar players where they're really good with the guitar, but they lack in vocals but they'll still try to put themselves in the forefront. You know what I mean? I don't think Kenny Wayne's that way. He lets the vocals sit up there, and just whenever it's time to shred the guitar, then he just steps up nice and casually, melts your face, and then just does the Homer Simpson into the bushes thing, just steps back and lets the band, do its thing again. I love this guy.
Yeah.
Don't talk shit about my favorite guitarist of all time.
Stevie Ray Vaughan?
No. Joe Walsh.
Okay, I was like, what?
You sit there talking about he's really good at guitar, but his vocals, and I'm like,
I got you.
I saw Joe Walsh 4 years ago now. He was touring with Tom Petty. He was the backup band with Tom Petty, and he played the last show of the tour before he left to go back to get the Eagles back together. Once they got Glenn Fry's son hooked up. So I got to see him and his band playing back up at the Tom Petty concert. And I love Joe Walsh. I always have. But I'm sorry, I'm an Eddie Van Halen fan.
Okay.
That
there's an argument to be had there. All right. Yeah. I'll give you that much.
Stevie Ray Vaughan is my all-time favorite. I mean, I love Yngwie Malmsteen and Eric Clapton and all these guys, but Stevie Ray Vaughan, like I said, he gets in here, man, and he just man, I wish he just stuck around with us longer.
Oh, I agree.
I'm with you on that one.
I agree. I love Stevie. I love all the good guitarists. But,
oh yeah, definitely.
I've probably seen. Well, I've seen Eddie probably 8 times in concert. And of course he married a girl. He married Valerie Bertinelli. They met here in Shreveport. Okay, because both their parents worked for General Motors, and that's how they ended up. They ended up meeting right up here at the old Coliseum that I started watching hockey games in. And the first concert that Van Halen did after Sammy came along was here. in Shreveport. So the Van Halens kind of have a, because they lived here for a while. They lived in Shreveport for a while. They kind of have a special place. So if I'm depressed, I just flip on Eruption and listen to 13 minutes of Eddie just killing the guitar.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
like Eddie was very, very popular. I have a cousin who named their firstborn son Wolfgang. So, you know, just
well,
because, you know.
this is funny because like when I was growing up and stuff, I was, in band. I was, I mixed around a lot of instruments, but I always stayed like I was the tuba player. Or, I was always the bass. I was always, so coming into whenever I was enjoying rock and roll, I'd always focus on the drums and, and the drums, and Rush. And, these were bands that I just was like, oh, yeah. But my best friend in the whole world sat there and was like, dude, you got to, guitars is where it at. And I mean, we used to have this back and forth. And now it's just like, I love drums. I can sit there and keep the rhythm with drums and stuff, but the guitar, like I said, if the guitar is done properly, I love it.
I tried to play guitar. I was never any good at it. Again, I'm left-handed, and I had issues with people teaching me. So that was a problem. This is something I've never said out loud. I was in band for a little while in school, and I played an instrument. And the reason why I have never said anything was because my instrument that I played it because it was very simple and no one else played it. And it was the French horn.
The French horn is simple.
It is until you get into like the bell thing and stuff,
oh my god! I was like, man, that French horn. I sat there. I was
but it's 3 keys.
Yeah.
So
I've got a really good friend of mine who started with the tuba and went to French horn in high school, and ended up staying with it. He played with the Denver orchestra for years, playing the French horn.
that's cool.
For me, when I first started in band, I was saxophone. You know what I mean? And everybody just gave me shit about it. Big guy playing saxophone. So I just got away from it. You know what I mean? And I went into trombone, trumpet. I just never. And then I was a football player, and I was like, okay, I have to go out on the field. I didn't want to change. Didn't want to take all my shit off. So then I started playing the sousaphone. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, it was just throw it on, let's go. I didn't have to go down dress or anything during the games and stuff. And I was fine with that until they turned my freshman year, and they turned around and told me I had to buy the sousaphone. And I was like, there you go. I'm out. Football's all I need.
Yeah.
I mean, renting it was bad enough.
I got to run, ladies and gentlemen. So it was
Alrighty.
fun talking with you guys, and hopefully something happens between now and 6 o'clock tomorrow, because I'm kind of scratching for topics to talk about for live streams.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just jump on a live stream tomorrow just with nothing to talk about, So hopefully there's something there that I can, throw a live stream together and we can sit and chat.
Maybe we'll get that one guy that Earsay was talking about,
Yeah.
The 4-4 dude? Yeah, right.
That's like when I was sitting there trying to share that tweet and everything and put it out there. I put out, okay, we're going to cover, put what the topic was and stuff. But then I was just like, and I was like, that's kind of sucks. So I was trying to think, and join the chat and we'll be able to talk. I was just sitting there trying to think of something else to say because, I looked at the first half. I'm like, that's not going to get people excited. Real changes.
Ninkowski, I think we're about to end this a little early.
I'll stick around a little
It's
longer.
okay,
A little
bro.
bit longer. Okay, I have to go.
I know, Bob. You be safe.
All right, I just got texted. So
All right.
have a good one, guys, and I will talk to y'all later.
See you, little dog.
Take it easy, bro.
Be good or good.
Make sure you don't forget to hit the end broadcast up there.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I got you.
All right, later.
Night.
Unless you
Thanks,
all
man.
want to head over to Discord and we
Well,
can hang out in there.
Jack doesn't do Discord. That's the only
That's true.
downside to that.
That's true.
It's whenever you look, whenever you guys want to or need to
No,
go.
no, we're here. We're here, Jack.
Go.
It's Thursday
Let's
night,
go.
my guy.
I mean, we've talked about wrestling and Navy stuff and
Yeah,
and shredding the guitar. Just
hour
because
and a half,
there wasn't a lot of football stuff to
hour and a half show with about 18 minutes of football.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
You know what was funny that when we were talking about the pay like in the 60s and 70s for the NFL
Yeah.
players, when
Yeah.
Dusty Rhodes, he started out playing professional football, and then he took like 2 weeks to wrestle, and he got paid $700 in 2 weeks, right? And he's looking at his check, and then he gets a phone call at the hotel from the Miami Dolphins inviting him to come down to the team. They liked him, and he's looking at his check for $700, and he says to the phone, "I no longer play professional football," and hangs up on him and goes to wrestling. Yeah, Dusty was something, man. So
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was.
but can you imagine that, turning down an NFL career? He's got a check for $700.
Well, they say back, like I say, back then, guys were working. I mean, Big Daddy Lipscomb and one of the other guys from the Colts used to have a tag team back, in the 50s. That's what they did during the off season. They wrestled. They tag team wrestled and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it was a whole different world back then. I mean, it really was. I mean, Burt Jones used to come home during the off season and work with his dad in a lumber mill that he still operates here in Ruston, Louisiana. Yeah. I mean, they didn't get paid millions of dollars back then.
No, I mean, to your point, normally the football was the secondary income. They had their normal income, and then football was just supplemental.
Yeah, it was just, they had a chance to go play professional, but I mean, that's all they did that, and then they, went back to doing whatever they were doing.
Now it's $230 million of supplemental.
That was a
Look,
bad.
I remember when Joe Namath signed his $400,000 contract with the New York Jets, and everybody just thought the freaking world was going to blow up because they were going to pay somebody $400,000 to play football as a rookie. His rookie contract. Like, holy crap. And I can guarantee, I pretty much guarantee John Unitas' entire football career, he did not make $1 million. Not even close. Which is why he had a restaurant. He had other businesses afterwards, and he had problems there, and he, ended up going bankrupt and that kind of stuff. Is why he was out signing autographs with a hand that barely worked, up until the day he died.
Yeah.
I mean, they wanted him to come in. They were going to have a 50th anniversary of the 58 championship game. And he says, and he asked how much they were going to pay him because the NFL was doing it, sponsoring it. The 50th anniversary of the greatest game ever played. And they asked him, they invited him to come, and he said, well, what does it pay? And they go, oh, we'll pay for your trip and that kind of stuff. And he goes, I've got a signing up in Canada, and I get paid this much and this much for each autograph. He says, I've already got a commitment to them. So he didn't show up because that's what he was. I mean, that's where he was at the end of, towards the end of his life.
Yeah.
That's where John Unitas was.
Yeah, Toxic Tommy is in here. He says, "Yeah, you even heard him squeal whenever Pete Rose got 100,000 for hitting singles."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I guess that's why I sit back and go, as the money's just gotten more and more, I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Good God, it just, guys are getting paid $10 million. Like, holy shit, $10 million, but there again, they went from having, after season jobs to now starting to become full-time football players. And the smart ones early on, the smart ones would stay in some kind of training and that kind of stuff until it evolved to where you have, like Tom Brady and the linebacker we were just talking about from Seattle, that just signed
Wagner.
the nutritions and everything they do during the off season to keep themselves and their bodies and everything else. They didn't do that back in the day.
Yeah, but I'd argue about. I mean, Wagner, he's had his share of bumps and bruises. He's not. I mean, honestly, I feel like that's. I like Wagner, but I feel like he's more of a name than he is a player now. I mean, the dude's still
Yeah.
good.
That's
He's
why
still
I
good.
don't that's why I didn't understand the 5-year thing, but you guys probably couldn't hear me because everything froze around me. I don't know if it was me or the whole stream when I went off the first time. What does the 5-year term actually mean? He won't see the end of that.
No, but that still allows them to spread the money out. You know what I mean? It still allows them a little bit of freedom now. It's the wimpy. You know, I'll gladly pay you for a player today or Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just yeah, it's
the league.
Because-
The league is headed that
Because
by now.
wasn't Bobby Wagner a vet on the Legion of Boom?
Yes.
yeah.
He was on their Super Bowl team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was one of their
Yeah,
senior
Staples.
leaders and stuff.
Right,
Well,
that's what I thought.
he came in the same draft as Russell Wilson did.
Tommy's in here. He says he said, yeah, Pete Rose hit a lot of singles.
Jack, sorry, brother. Sorry, let's go ahead.
Hang on just a second. Yeah, Tommy also says Willie Mays and Hank Aaron never quit training either. You know, that's why these guys were able to perform.
Yeah.
You know, for a long period of time.
Why doesn't Toxic join us?
He doesn't have all the audio and stuff to set up, so he just does it with the keyboards. By the way, he says he's a keyboard man anyhow. I think he was talking about when we were talking about drums and guitars. He's like, he's a keyboard man in more ways than one.
I can't type, so I could,
Yeah, me too.
If it's got to be one of these, I'm never in any one of those discussions.
Jack, did you say you're a Texas A&M fan?
Yes, sir. My oldest brother's an Aggie.
They got beat earlier tonight in basketball. I had them, and I got beat by 1 point right at the end.
Did they?
Yep. The NIT final.
My problem with doing the keyboard is
when I say I'm an Aggie fan, I'm a football fan.
My problem when I get mad, then these two fingers get really worn out as I'm hitting the keys.
Well,
what do you mean, Ursays?
Right.
I have to look at the keys and then look at what I typed to make sure And I start looking at some of the stuff I wrote, and I went, well, that's incoherent. Boy, you look like a real ass if you post that, So I got to go back and correct it,
That's how I was today. That's on my phone because I was dropping my kids off. All this running around before the 6 o'clock show. So I'm sitting there trying to share it, and I'm trying to look at the tweet, and I'm blind in one eye and can't see out of the other. So I'm doing the best I can to get this thing out. And then I look at it and I'm like, I don't know how or what I did, but I basically taken midway of it and dropped it down. And I was like, so then I had to erase it and start all over. And finally I was like, I should have just waited till I got to the PC at home. At least then I can put it on my TV screen and see it.
You can talk into your phone, right?
Yes, but my phone doesn't like the things I tell it.
Okay, no, I understand. That seriously has its own sides too, because sometimes it types something completely different. But I'm saying, there are ways to get around that whole typing fiasco.
Yeah.
I don't do a whole lot of the Twitter stuff on my phone or anything. Like I said, now that I got the PC, I try to do it there as much as I can.
I don't even do Twitter, so
I think for me, because I grew up using a phone, and so when I'm on Facebook, I'm big on Facebook, and I see one of my friends, I prefer to do an audio call or a video call than to sit there and type.
Yeah.
But these younger guys, the ones that are in their 20s and 30s, they just like the texting, and I'm like, I prefer audio, even though because I'm bilingual, I'll say something. I'll be talking about Jim Irsay, but I'll say Jim Israel, because in Japan that's what they call him, Israel, and so I do crap like that all the time. And people look at me like, "Is he half retarded?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and probably drunk, but I'm just kidding.
Tommy's
Right.
on here. He says, "Me typing is like imagine Captain Hook typing." And then he says, "I
Right.
wouldn't." He goes, "I wouldn't hit a dog with the damn I wouldn't hit a dog in the ass with Twitter." He's like, he doesn't want any part of it.
Me either. Me either. That's a young man's sport as far as I'm concerned.
My best replacement for typing right now is GIFs. I like to just put GIFs with a good little one-liner or something.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with that.
I even was talking to Brandon. I'm like, dude, I got to learn how to make my own because.
Really. Yeah, I'm like you, Doc. I grew up on a telephone. Of course, our telephones had a cord that stuck to the wall,
Yeah.
so you didn't have to worry about losing it at any point during the conversation. And I still prefer, my kids. They like to do shit on Facebook with me, and I do this and go, hey, one of these. I'd much rather talk to you than
Yeah.
watch
this is my phone.
Yeah.
watch you.
I still have my.
I love those Motorola Razors. They're the shit.
Yeah.
My
But it's in Japanese. I can't read.
Look, I don't even own a cell phone. Okay,
Brother, it can be in whatever language. You can switch it over, I think.
No, not this one.
Not unless he knows which one is audio or whatever in Japanese.
Well, I gave it to my wife and I said, make this in English. And she's like, I don't know how to do this. So I'm like, okay, great. That's okay.
Doc,
Your wife, she's a local. She's a Japanese.
We're related. Yeah, my wife's
I'm sorry,
but,
guys.
yeah. Doc, I thought about it after we hung up last week. My dad took R&R when we were on Guam, and we went to Tokyo for a week and spent a week in Tokyo. And my mom, I could hear her and Dad talking because I'd walk in front of them, and because all of the Japanese people were staring at me because at that time I was almost 10 years. I was almost 10 years old, blonde, and taller than most of them.
Okay.
And I got a lot of looks. Got a lot of looks, But I was thinking about us, we took a cab when we landed in Yokota and took a cab to Tokyo. The most I've been on roller coasters that can't compare to that taxi ride from the airbase to Tokyo. My God, this guy scared you. Mom and I are in the back seat just freaking holding on to one another. This guy scared the ever loving shit out of me. And like I said, I've been on every crazy ass roller coaster you can think of, and not a problem. But I wouldn't want to do that again, And
they're not so bad here in Tokyo anymore, but in Okinawa, oh my God, they're crazy. I've actually gotten to it. I'm probably the nicest person you guys would ever meet. I like to laugh and joke, hit on women.
Yeah,
But this guy, we almost came to blows because I kept telling him to slow down and he wouldn't. And I grabbed him while he was driving. And I said, fucking slow down, And so, yeah.
And of course, it was also our first experience on being on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah.
Which, that didn't, of course, Mom drove. I didn't at that age. But I mean, I'd never been on that side of the road before, and it was definitely different, definitely weird.
I'll be back in a few guys.
All right,
bro.
So when you stayed in Tokyo, did you stay in Tokyo or did you stay in Yokota?
No, we stayed in Tokyo. There was a hotel that the Air Force had there for the military families that they wanted to do. They could do R&R there. And
Nusano?
I don't ask me the name, man. Like I said, I was almost 10 years old when we were there. I think I might have been 10 by then because we were there in the summer, so it probably was. I was born in June. But I remember going up in the Tokyo Tower, going into several places that were very interesting as far as showing the progress, the future. because I'm a big model maker. I always was. I got into, I was into modeling a long time ago. The only thing at that time I knew about Japan was Godzilla.
Yeah.
And the models that they had. I'm looking at the models that they had in Godzilla. I'm a big Godzilla. I love the original Godzillas, the ones that come out in the last 50, 30 years. I just don't care for. But anyway, so seeing some of these expositions that we went through, there were a lot of model building. It would be like huge layouts of cities and stuff, and it was all modeled, and I'd just stand there and just be fascinated with it. And a couple of model shops. What killed me was walking down the street, and there would be a guy sitting on a bench out front of his model shop, and just had the big gate that opened up in front, and that's where he sat all day. And he had just shelves and shelves of different model airplanes, mostly airplanes at that time, ships and stuff. And that's where I got introduced to some of the Japanese model companies that are big time today. It was quite different. And then they had I don't know officially what they call them. We called them the pachinko parlors.
Yeah, that's what they're called.
Is it? Oh, they say, but they had just rows and rows, and all that kind of, and guys standing. Of course, everybody on Guam had a pachinko machine. We the dads would go to Japan and come back with 10 or 12 of them, and distribute them out to the various people that wanted one or not. And we brought ours back from Guam. I wish the thing still was around. But it was quite interesting. It was kind of like, because I remember going into a pool hall with my brother and my cousin down in Key West, Florida. And I was probably 6 years old then, and they had rows and rows in this pool hall. In the back side of it, they had rows and rows of pinball machines. And when I saw these people, guys at the pachinko, these people at the pachinko machines, and it was just, to me, I was just standing there and watch them, Hey, look at the little blonde kid over here, Those are the things that I remember from our trip, our trip to that, and the lights. Just, we could step out of the hotel at night, and I mean, this whole city was just one big shining light. Everywhere, lights everywhere. People think in Vegas they have a lot of lights. Yeah, I thought, they ought to go to Tokyo. At least back in that day, there was, the Ginza and everything was just, it was just something else at night. It really, really was. I don't know what it's like now, but it was. So my memory of, I had a chance to go to Tokyo and stand up at the top of the Tokyo Tower, and look around and going, hey, where's Godzilla at? But it was the model making. Like I said, there were a lot of things that we saw that involved model making, and so it's a fun memory.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
You hit the button.
I hit my wall. I'm sorry.
All right, man.
The legs just don't have it in them like they used to.
Yeah.
When you're not feeling good.
But we'll
Take
be
care,
up
man.
again next Thursday. We don't want to give up things to talk about. So
No. So something will happen. If nothing else, we can, talk about guitars more.
there you go.
Yeah.
Toxic Tommy, appreciate you there being on the keyboards.
Yeah.
And I would just like to sit there and close this thing out
Yep. See you guys.
respect to my guy Joe Thornburg.
Shout out.
Be good or be good at it, guys.
Yeah. Y'all too.
All right.
Y'all take care.
All right.
Peace.
See you guys next week.
See you next week.
See you, man.